This month has to do with the teacher evaluation process. Hi guys, it is the Emerging Educator here in my car and I'm on my way home, but I wanted to take time to go ahead and answer the Teaching Around the World tag questions for March. This month has to do with the teacher evaluation process. So if you're new to the series, A Happy Teacher True Story and Life in Kafoopleland, and I began wondering what it is like teaching in other countries. So we started a tag where we invite all teachers from all countries all over the world to talk about what teaching is like in their neck of the woods. And every month for a whole year, we have been giving them questions that they would answer to help us get a sense of what it's like teaching where they're at. So this month, March, we're dealing with the teaching evaluation process. So there's 5 questions, and here we go. A little bit of information about me, again, just in case you're new tuning into my channel or my videos. I'm currently teaching in Chicago Public Schools. So all of my answers are coming from the perspective of a teacher in the Midwest Chicago Public Schools area. Alright, so the first question asks, how are teachers observed, evaluated in your country? So here in the United States, or at least in Illinois and Chicago specifically, teachers are evaluated using the Danielson model. It's based on Charlotte Danielson and her framework for evaluating teachers. Originally, that framework was created as a way for teachers to reflect on their own teaching and their own planning and their own instruction. However, through the years, it has become the model through which many districts have begun and continue to evaluate and observe their teachers. It is divided into 4 sections. The first one is planning, and so it's really looking at how well the teacher is planning for their instruction. Are they considering each individual lesson, or are they considering it in a broader scope, in a unit or a thematic type of scope? What kinds of sorry for the light. What kinds of plans are the teacher making to connect that to other content areas and previous content areas or previous topics within that content area? How the district picks whether or not they're evaluating literacy or math depends on what the district is focusing on. So my school is focusing on math this year, so all of the observations are focused on math instruction. The second domain in the Charlotte Danielson framework is the classroom environment. So are there routines and procedures in place? Do the students have a warm, welcoming environment? Is there rules posted? Just random aspects of the classroom environment and how that relates to the procedures and the routines that the teacher has set in place for the year. The third domain is actual instruction. So taking into regard the classroom environment and the planning component, the next area has to do with how the teacher is actually instructing that content, and how the teacher is adapting that content during instruction based on whether or not their students are understanding what they're teaching. The next and final one is professionalism, and this has to do with are the teachers attending professional development? Are they being as professional as possible? Are they utilizing any resources, team members, professional learning communities, and things like that to best enhance their instruction? So that is the framework that my school and my district and many districts in Illinois tend to evaluate their teachers on. So the next question is, how often are teachers evaluated / observed? So in my neck of the woods in Chicago Public Schools, when you're a new teacher like me, if it's your first year in the district or if it is your first year teaching period, you are considered a probationary teacher, which basically means that you're new to the district and you would need to have observations every year until you have reached a status of tenured. And so in order to receive a status of tenure, you need to have a proficient rating for 2 years. And so basically what that means is in each of the 4 domains at the end of the year, you are given a baseline between 1 and 4. 4 is highly distinguished, 3 is probationary, 2 is needs improvement, I believe, and 1 is basic, which is very bad. So you're given these scores, and if your score averages out by the end of the year proficient, which is a 3, that's a good sign. That's where they want you to be. If you have 2 of those in a row, or 2 of them consecutively, you may be eligible to be tenured, which means if you're tenured, you only get evaluated once every other year. Whereas if you are a probationary teacher like myself, you are having 1 informal evaluation and between 3 and 4 formal evaluations / observations per year. So it's a huge difference between being probationary and being tenured. And one more thing, and you are observed throughout the year. So for example, my first informal was earlier in the year. I believe it was October, and I just had my my first formal this week on Monday. So it spans throughout the year, and I have 1 more that's coming up in April. So question number 3 is, who does the evaluations? And so basically the evaluations are done through administration. So at my school, the principal is doing the tenured teachers and the assistant principal is doing the probationary teachers or the newer teachers like myself. And that's done to kind of distribute the observation time and caseload of the administrator and the assistant principal. So question number 4, I already kind of touched on it. It is about whether or not teachers get tenure, and if they do, how long do they have to be teaching before they can get tenure. And so as I mentioned, at least in my district, you're considered a probationary teacher until you're able to have a proficient rating for 2 years. And so at least 2 years would be mandatory for you to be considered a tenured teacher. So it just got really dark. So the last question is, what role do these evaluations play on your long-term career? And basically these evaluations basically stay with you. I know when I've done job interviews, they've asked me how I've done on previous evaluations. I know that if you stay within the same district but you move around, they basically stay with you. And long term, I mean, it's like having an F on your transcript. It stays with you. So I don't know if it's like that in other areas, but at least I know that in my neck of the woods, it's a pretty important thing to do well on your evaluations. I mean, it determines whether or not your administration is going to retain you and keep you for another year, or if they're basically going to say, you know what, you're an at-will employee and we've decided not to renew your contract. So it basically boils down to the fact that it is pretty important, and you want to do your best on it. And so because of that, it becomes very, very nerve-wracking when you know that you have an evaluation coming up, and especially if like you have a tough group of kids that the behavior is not all intact. Like, it becomes very stressful. So yeah, that's it. That is the month of March for the Teaching Around the World tag. Feel free to go ahead and do this tag as well. Join us. There's many of us doing this tag. Thank you to Nick and EJ for being so great and on top of this tag, and thank you for all of those who have participated. We've got several countries participating now, so if you do participate in the tag, just make sure that you have your country's flag somewhere on your video, and that you link myself, Nick, and EJ in the link in your description. So that's just about it. We will see you next month for the next month of Teaching Around the World. Bye.